What is up, fellas? We are back for another UFC predictions video. This time for UFC Fight Night Atlantic City. Blanchfield versus Fiorot. Fiorot. I don't know how to say that last name. Uh, Sorry this video is coming out so late. I've been busy early on in the week, and I just sat down and recorded this same video already. But my camera was like super blurry, and I was just like, that looks like shit, so I'll just redo it. So this video might be pretty short and concise, because now I have some of my points in my head together, so I might speed run this a little bit. But yeah, let's jump right in. Any new subs? They go on the board, like that guy, and but yeah, let's jump right in. Kicking us off at bantamweight, Angel Pacheco versus Calvin Loughran. Um, I talked for like 5 minutes about like this fight, so like that last video was like 50 minutes long. I'm going with Calvin Loughran. I think he's just going to be able to out wrestle Angel Pacheco because Angel Pacheco is not super dynamic. He's not like a range playing kickboxer despite having the reach. He's going to be in front of Calvin Loughran this entire fight. He's pretty tough. He's pretty durable. But I think once Calvin Loughran locks his hands around him on a takedown entry, he will get him down. I just think the physicality difference and the strength difference is going to be a little bit jarring to Angel Pacheco. And I think Calvin Loughran is going to be able to take him down and control him and land big power shots when he does. I don't see Angel Pacheco being able to get up super easily. I think Calvin Loughran is going to get a TKO here in like rounds 1 or 2 when they're dry. I think he's just going to have an easy time getting the takedown over Angel Pacheco. Moving up to middleweight, Andre Petroski versus Jacob Malkoun. I was surprised at the line of this fight. Andre Petroski plus 195 here over Jacob Malkoun, which is interesting because I think their styles are pretty similar sized guys, similar styles. My only thing is Andre Petroski. I think he has a lot more power in his hands, but I think his striking technique is just worse outright. And throwing all of that power into those shots that don't always land tires him out a lot. He does gas pretty hard, so I'm leaning Jacob Malkoun because I think overall over 15 minutes, Jacob Malkoun is the side. I think he's got a little bit better wrestling control than Andre Petroski. Um, his cardio and his endurance is much better from what we've seen. Um, I just trust him over 15 minutes to get like a decision win more than I trust Andre Petroski to get like a decision win because I think Andre Petroski's only way to win this fight is to TKO Jacob Malkoun, which is possible. It is possible because Jacob Malkoun's chin is it's a little bit iffy, but I'm going to go with Jacob Malkoun here by decision. I think he's just a little bit better and a little bit more technical in his approach to his fights than Andre Petroski is. Moving up to women's flyweight, Victoria Dudakova versus Melissa Gatto. This is a fight that I've been a little bit 50-50 on, but I'm leaning towards Melissa Gatto here. The line surprised me a lot. Minus 170 surprised me because I think this fight's closer to a pick'em than almost a 2-1 favorite. Melissa Gatto, I just think like their styles are relatively similar. I just think Melissa Gatto has more experience, wins against better fighters. And despite being 0-2 in our last two, I think losing to like Tracy Cortez and going to a split decision with, let me double check, I forget the name, Ariane Lipski, not so bad. What the fuck is this fight at right here? Yeah, I just think she's got more experience. She's got better wins. I didn't like Dudakova's fight against Jinyu Frey, taking Jinyu Frey to a decision, which Jinyu Frey wasn't like completely outclassed in, is a little bit to me. I think Dudakova is a decent enough underdog, but I'm going to trust Melissa Gatto here to get a decision win. I just think experience a little bit more valuable here. I think it'll lend itself to her getting a decision win over Victoria Dudakova. Moving up to light heavyweight, Ibo Alsan versus Anton Turkalj. I'm going with Ibo Alsan here, fellas. I know Anton Turkalj is Ibo's only loss, but recently in Anton Turkalj's career, I feel like he has been taking a lot of damage, like a lot of damage. He took a lot against Petrino. He took damage against Almeida, and he got flatline KO'd by Tyson Pedro. He's riding zero momentum, man, and I just don't like that. I know Ibo Alsan is a can crusher, but he is very dangerous in the first round. His boxing is very good. And recently, Anton Turkalj's boxing defense has just looked fucking terrible. He blocks shots with his face and relies heavily on his durability to get fights to the ground where he wants them to be, and he's not even that good on the ground. My thing is, if Ivo Alsan doesn't gas out hard, Anton Turkalj, I don't think wins this fight. I think he gets chinned here, especially because he's been getting chinned a lot recently. I don't think his durability is where it used to be after taking so much damage. And I think Ivo Alsan is going up. I think Anton Turkalj is coming down. I think Ivo Alsan's going to get a first round TKO over Anton Turkalj in this matchup, in my opinion, of course. Moving up to featherweight, the lowest skilled fight in UFC history, Denis Buzukja versus Conor Matthews. I'm going with Matthews here. Denis Buzukja sucks. I think Matthews has more skills, more ways to win this fight. And I think he'll probably be better over 15 minutes. And once again, like I said, he's riding momentum. I know he is a can crusher. I know. But Denis Buzukja just got chinned in 40 seconds. Like, I don't know if you can come into it with the same confidence, 0-2 in the UFC. I think a lot of the stress and a lot of the jitters are actually going to be on the side of Denis Buzukja here as opposed to Matthews. And I think I like Matthews' striking a little bit better. And I think on the ground, it's kind of a wash. I kind of think Conor Matthews can submit Denis Buzukja here in this fight. I think he will be able to get him down. And I think he will be able to choke him out. Yeah. Did not really mean to click on that. Moving up to featherweight, or staying at featherweight, Julio Arce versus Herbert Burns. Herbert Burns is dangerous for like the first round, but I can't pick on a guy who gasses so hard. I mean, he literally has a TKO loss to exhaustion. I think Julio Arce, if he survives the first 5 minutes with Herbert Burns, he's going to win this fight. I like the Southpaw v Orthodox matchup. I like Julio Arce's game. I think I trust his survivability for the first few minutes. I trust him to not stick his head into like a choke or something stupid. Like, I'm looking at you, Ricardo Ramos, you dumb fuck. Yeah, I'm going with Julio Arce. I think if this gets outside of the first round, Herbert Burns is going to wilt super, super bad like he always does. And Julio Arce is kind of a tough guy to get out of there immediately into the first round. So yeah, I think Julio Arce is going to win this fight by TKO over Herbert Burns in like rounds 2 or 3. I don't mind Herbert Burns round 1 as like a system play though. I'll say that. But this isn't betting advice. So moving up to women's strawweight, Virna Jandiroba versus Luque Godinez. I broke this one down for a while in my previous recording. I think Jandiroba, this is one of those fights that Jandiroba just wins and destroys everybody's parlay. It's one of those ones I see as like a potential thing happening. I am leaning Luque Godinez though, because I trust her wrestling defense, and I think she's better on the feet than Jandiroba is. And I think she's going to largely make this fight a stand-up contest, and I favor her in that. I think she'll be able to negate the grappling and just keep this fight on the feet and win a decision here. Maybe like a 29-28 where Jandiroba could pick up a round if she gets some control time in, which I think she can do. But I'm still going to lean on the younger lady riding a bunch of momentum. Even though Jandiroba's riding momentum too, she just got to win, I believe, over Marina Rodriguez, yeah? Yeah, and Angela Hill. Like, those are 2 good wins, man. Like, this is a hard fight for Luque Godinez. So I wouldn't mind a Jandiroba underdog pick. I wouldn't. Maybe a sprinkle as well. But I'm going to lean Luque Godinez. I think she's just got sharper striking, and I think this fight will take place on the feet mostly, but we'll see. Closing out the prelims, my GOAT, Nate Landwehr versus Jamal Emmers. Guys, this is a bad matchup for Nate the Train, and I hate to say it. Nate Landwehr gets caught clean by just about everybody he fights, whether it's David Onama or Austin Lingo or Dan Ige. He gets caught clean, and I think Jamal Emmers, man, I just think if he hurts Nate Landwehr, I think he's going to be able to get the finish. David Onama is terrible, in my opinion. Austin Lingo's terrible, and if they're catching you on the chin and hurting you a little bit, Jamal Emmers is going to finish him, man. And I hate to say it, I want Nate Landwehr to win so bad, but Jamal Emmers is like a legit threat, man. He's got, like, early on in his career, split decision against Giga Chikadze. Close decision with, I believe, Andre Philly. Just knocked out Denis Buzukja in like 30 seconds. Let me just pull up his profile here. Oh yeah, I forgot about the fight against Jack Jenkins. Jack Jenkins, I think, is a very legit prospect, and I remember that fight being wildly close. And I almost remember thinking Jack Jenkins was going to lose that decision. Yeah, Jamal Emmers, man, his resume is so good. He beat the 23-0 guy, Ashkabov. That is this guy, right? Yeah, 23-1 now. Like, yeah, Jamal Emmers, I just feel like he's gonna catch Nate the Train early. And I think he's gonna win this fight by TKO. I would love for Nate Lamro to win, but I don't see it. I think this is a very hard matchup stylistically for him. Moving up to welterweight, Chidi Njokuani versus Reese McKee. I'm going with Reese McKee, guys. I don't trust Chidi Njokuani worth a shit. Um, uh, especially cutting down to welterweight at 35. I saw an interview where Chidi Njokuani was talking about his cut to welterweight and said his body has been forever changed and how bad the cut to welterweight was for him. So now we're cutting down to welterweight at 35 years old. And we already have cardio and durability issues. I feel like this is a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. Chidi Njokuani is very fucking dangerous in the first round. But outside of that, if he starts to get extended or any kind of adversity starts to go his way or not go his way, I guess, he crumples completely. Reese McKee's a guy who's used to always experiencing adversity and coming out the other side of it. So I'm going to trust him here. I don't think Reese McKee's that good, but I think if he survives the first round, I think he's going to finally start to be able to implement his game plan and finally get himself a win here in the UFC. I just hate the cut for Njokuani. I hate the cut. And I talked about it a little bit. Um, Chidi Njokuani versus Marc-Andre Barriault was a fight that I was really confident in picking Marc-Andre Barriault in, and Marc-Andre Barriault got KO'd in 16 seconds. So I make this as a point to say Chidi Njokuani has a very, very strong puncher's chance in this matchup. I think that's why he's a favorite, because he is very dangerous early. But I also said if they make that fight 10 times, Njokuani and like a Barriault, I'm picking Barriault every single time. I think that win's a little bit fluky, in my opinion. And I like a big durable guy with good cardio and good pressure. I think that's a good style to beat Njokuani, and Reese McKee kind of resembles that. I think a little bit lower skilled as far as like boxing goes, but I'm gonna trust in him. We'll see. Reese McKee by like round 3 TKO. Bold prediction, but we'll see. Uh Moving up to featherweight, Bill Algeo versus Kyle Nelson. I'm leaning Bill Algeo here. I think Kyle Nelson has looked pretty good actually as of late in his career, but I think the weirdness and wackiness of Bill Algeo's striking is going to freeze Kyle Nelson a little bit. Kyle Nelson's a very orthodox guy, very kind of like a boxing heavy guy, tight boxing defense, and he's used to guys throwing normal techniques at him. I think Bill Algeo's weird striking style is actually going to freeze Kyle Nelson a little bit because of the angles that Bill Algeo comes from and finds. And I think he's going to be able to hurt Kyle Nelson on a couple of occasions. Now, I think this fight's a little bit closer than the line might have you believe, because I think Kyle Nelson is decent, especially in a 3-round fight going to a decision. I think Kyle Nelson's not too shabby at that. But I think I see Bill Algeo hurting him early, and I see him hurting him kind of often. I'm going with Bill Algeo. I think he's going to get a decision win here over Kyle Nelson. I just think he's going to do more damage, and I think he's going to be able to find clean strikes on Kyle Nelson around his guard. Huh, this fight. Moving up to middleweight, Nelson Ruziboev versus Cedric Dumas. I think both of these guys are bad. Like people see Nelson Ruziboev's name, they see the record, they're like, "Oh my god, this guy's a monster." He's okay. Watching like some of his older fights, he doesn't do anything exceptionally well. Like he's all around just he's okay, he's fine. Cedric Dumas, the only way I see him winning this fight, but I don't mind him as an underdog pick because plus 210 I think is crazy. Um, I think he just needs to take down Ruziboev and stay on top, and I think he can win this fight by decision. Because Ruziboev just really likes going for Kimuras from the bottom like a weirdo. Uh, but I think on the feet, I give Ruziboev the edge here. Cedric Dumas' stand-up is really like, I don't like it. I didn't like his performance against Was it Otman Azaitar? The big Azaitar brother. Uh, was it? I just gotta make sure. Otman Azaitar? What is his name? No, what the fuck is your name? Abu Azaitar. Otman Azaitar is the lightweight one. My bad. But yeah. He looked very skittish in the stand up against Abu Azaitar. Yeah, I just didn't like that performance, so I'm leaning Ruziboev. I think Ruziboev also got a win over a guy who I think is a harder matchup, in Bruno Ferreira, just more dangerous. And he knocked him out pretty quickly. So I'm gonna go with Ruziboev here. Just like slightly. I think this fight might go the distance, and I'm just gonna say Ruziboev like 29-28 decision. I don't know. We'll see. This is a matchup that I just think is just all over the fucking place. Moving up to moving up to middleweight. The corpse of Chris Weidman versus Bruno Silva. Guys, I gotta go with Bruno Silva. Chris Weidman's 40. He had his leg chewed up against Brad Tavares. He looked bad in that fight. His boxing looked okay, but I don't think he's going to want to box with Bruno Silva that much. I think Bruno Silva is much more dangerous on the feet than Brad Tavares. I think if Bruno Silva starts throwing leg kicks early, I think this shit might just be caked early. Bruno Silva's got real power in his hands, and he throws with bad intentions. I just don't like this matchup for Chris Weidman. Could he take Bruno Silva down? Maybe. Maybe. We haven't really seen him go for takedowns that often. Bruno Silva definitely has way worse takedown defense than Brad Tavares, though. So maybe Chris Weidman can work his takedowns a little bit, get some control time, maybe some ground and pound, go for a submission or two. But largely, I just see Bruno Silva catching Chris Weidman on the feet. I hate to say it. It makes me sad. I would like Chris Weidman to get a win here, go out right off into the sunset on a win. I just don't see it, guys. I'm keeping it G real. I just don't see it here. I'm going with Bruno Silva by TKO, like rounds 1 or 2. Moving up to the co-main event at welterweight, Vicente Luque versus Joaquin Buckley. Um, I'm going with Vicente Luque. Uh, I am scared though, guys. I said in my last recording of this video, if I were to lay out the skill sets of these two guys on paper and not show you who they were, I think 100% of the people would pick Vicente Luque's skill set. I think he's got more ways to win this fight. I think he can win a decision. I think he can out wrestle Buckley over 3 rounds. I think he can submit Joaquin Buckley. I think he can chin check Joaquin Buckley too, because he's got good power and he's got great counter hooks in the pocket and he keeps a nice tight guard. But I keep having these thoughts. I'm like, dude, Buckley's just gonna kill him. I just keep having these visions in my head of Vicente Luque dead on the canvas and me in shambles. I don't know why. Joaquin Buckley, very dangerous guy, good power, decent technically, but he kind of lets that technique slip away from him, especially if he thinks he has a guy hurt. He kind of loops a little bit too much. He's a little too explosive at times, and I think that leads to him telegraphing his shots. If he takes like 10% power off of his strikes, I think he's far more effective here, but I just don't know if he's going to do that here against Luque. And I can see Joaquin Buckley lunging in with a big looping shot, Luque keeping that tight guard and just throwing a tight hook and it finding Buckley's chin, kind of similarly to how Chris Curtis beat Joaquin Buckley. I am worried for Luque, um, just because I'm not super trusting of his chin after the Jeff Neal fight. I don't think I'll ever be. Um, but yeah, I think Vicente Luque is the side here. I just think he has more ways to win. Obviously, Buckley can catch him. I'm hoping he doesn't because I love Vicente Luque. I'm going with Vicente Luque here. I think I'm gonna go with a Luque submission. I think he's gonna crack Joaquin Buckley with a counter hook, and Buckley's gonna get hurt. I think Luque might go for a submission if Joaquin Buckley falls to the ground. He might latch up a Darce. I don't know. I'm gonna go with like a Vicente Luque submission, in like round 2. We'll see. I hope I don't have to see Luque fucking corpsed on the ground. That would ruin my fucking night. Closing out this fight card with our women's flyweight main event, Erin Blanchfield versus Manon Fiorot. Guys, I'm going against the grain. I'm picking Manon Fiorot here. Um, because now this is a take that might age badly. I'm gonna say this now. Um, I don't think Erin Blanchfield clears Manon Fiorot in the grappling by a super wide margin. I know. That is crazy. It's crazy to say. My thing is, Erin Blanchfield is really great once she gets the takedown, gets on top, maybe gets your back. She's insanely good. once it gets there. Her getting from the takedown to being on top in her most dominant position, it's a little bit more from what I've seen from watching their previous fights. And I think Manon Fiorot's footwork, and Manon Fiorot is a person who's grappling defense I don't mind. She goes for underhooks. She holds on to whizzers. She tends to be able to stuff bad entries. And sometimes I don't think Aaron Blanchfield's entries are super great. Now I don't. People are gonna freak out that I said that. I just think Manon Fiorot's grappling is being undervalued here just a little bit, or at least her defense is being undervalued just a little bit here. And I think on the feet, like in the striking, I think Fiorot would be like a minus 250 if this was a kickboxing match. She's got really good cardio. She's got actual power in her hands. She's got great technique, and her footwork's good. And she's plus 160. It is 5 rounds, but I think over 5 rounds, I think I trust Manon Fiorot's cardio over 5 rounds. They've never been in a 5 rounder, but I think I trust her more. I don't know, man. This is a very intriguing women's fight for me. I can't believe that's a sentence I've even said. Um, but yeah, I'm curious to see how this one goes. I think both of these ladies are really well rounded. I think both of them are pretty much bona fide title contenders, regardless of who wins this fight. I think either one of these ladies will probably fight for the belt at some point. But I'm leaning towards Manon Fiorot, man. I think her footwork's going to trouble Blanchfield. I think if Blanchfield gets in on a takedown, I think I trust Fiorot to at least stuff some of them. At least some of them. She's also very big and very strong. I would reckon she's probably stronger than Blanchfield. Um, yeah, I just think she's going to get this done. I think maybe a Fiorot decision over 5 rounds, or perhaps even like a very late TKO, I could see. Um, Obviously Blanchfield's very good, and she has a very good chance of winning this, but I'm slightly leaning towards the dog here in this one. I hope you fellas can forgive me. But yeah, I'm going with Manon Fiorot, I think by decision here, but we'll see. But yeah, that's it for this card, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. I'm sorry this one was a little bit shorter, but like I've been sitting here yapping for like 2 hours at this point. But I'll catch you guys for next week's card. See ya.